It's 935 K-Days Morning Show. It's your boy Romeo. Look, the first hip-hop station in the world, and this station jumped off with a lot of special artists, and I got one right now, which surprisingly I never had a chance to sit down with. Young MC in the building. What's up, family?
Chilling, Rome. How you, man?
I am blessed. It is so awesome to have you here, man, because I want to hear some storytelling from you, because I know you got a lot of them, right?
I guess I do. I mean, it seemed like just what I do for me, but I talk to other people in the stories, so it's all good.
It definitely is all good. Look, I want to start with the new, okay, and then we're going to go back and just talk about your journey because I think it's amazing. All right.
Thank you.
First things first, man. You jumping off once again in 2024. I heard the single "Loose." I feel like I can be having up there with a whole bunch of women in the gym room just doing some steps, working the body out. I'm feeling that. What was your idea and motivation for this particular track?
This track, it kind of snuck up on me.
Okay.
I thought it was done, and then I kept adding stuff to it. I literally worked on it for about 2 years.
Really?
The lyrics, the chord changes, the bottom end. If people play it on a big system, they're going to hear some amazing bottom end. It has an artificial intelligence, AI component in it. Mm-hmm. So creating that, getting that program together, and then doing the visuals for it and everything, it was a big labor, but it was something where it makes music making feel new to me now. You know, like where it didn't a few years ago.
Now, coming from that creative space, obviously, from the producing side to writing side, do you feel like sometimes you maybe overthink or over-critique yourself when it comes to certain things?
That's human nature.
Okay.
You're going to overthink stuff and over-critique yourself. My thing is that I've always lived by the credo that whatever record I made, if it was the last record I ever made, I wanted to be the best record I ever made.
That part.
And now that everything's single-driven, I wanted to make sure every song was as good as I could make it, as opposed to saying, all right, well, I'll make this one to fill in this time, but I'll come with something later. Or I got 2 hot ones, so I'm going to just fill the rest of the album or fill the rest of the EP or whatever with trash.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that I'm giving my best, you know, every time I get on the mic or every time I put a track together, every time I step in the studio, and that makes it worthwhile.
Definitely.
You know, I'm older now. And I'm seeing, you know, podcasts about what do 40-year-old rappers talk about, and I'm 57. It's like I know what I want to talk about. I want to have make people have a good time and all that. So
yeah,
being able to put out some contemporary music and being here at K-Day, I'm kind of hyped about it.
I'm definitely excited that you're in the building. And a couple things stand out when we talk about your new project. Obviously, you saw the music industry evolve. It changed into something different. You talked about how singles are more important than maybe putting out an entire album, worrying about your album going gold or platinum. You even talked about being and using AI. Was there any pushback when you first thought about using that, or you understand where music is going?
Well, not even that I understand where music is going, but I look at the AI, at least the way that I approach it, as a technology, as a tool, as opposed to say, I'm going to have AI write songs for you. I've had people approach me saying, yo, I write dozens of songs a day. You want to do a song together on AI? I'm like, no. I use it for specific things to make some of the work go faster, but it's all creatively still just me. Yeah. The visuals especially, which I hired a graphics company, and they use AI to create the character. Even the shirt that I'm wearing is like an AI representation of me, as opposed to a photograph and whatever, and I thought it was cool. It doesn't look totally like me when you get close, but from a distance, it looks just like me on stage, and I'm like, I want that.
Nice.
So, you know what I mean? Like, things like that are what kind of piqued my interest, plus the fact that if I was a young kid, brand new artist came in, and I'm like waving the AI flag, people will look at me one way, but I've been doing this. I mean, K-Day played me up on Alvarado in 1987.
Talk about
all right?
it.
So here's your first story.
Yep.
Orlando, I wasn't driving. I was at USC, and I didn't have my license at the time. And Orlando again was doing promo for Delicious at the time. So we had the I Let 'Em Know remix. I Let 'Em Know was, I think, the first record to be played on K-Day of mine. So we had the remix. We drove up the hill on Alvarado, handed it over. I'm not even sure if it was Greg Mack, Lisa Canning who would do it. Handed it over.
Right.
Went down the hill, went through 2 traffic lights, had K-Day on, and the remix was playing.
Just like that.
Just like that. It's like those days you don't get back.
You don't.
Everything's faster now, but you don't get that back.
Yeah.
It's one thing if they say, okay, we're going to play it while you're here. No. We'll play it once you're gone, and literally they played it once we hit the stoplight.
That's amazing, man.
That's
Those are the days that I miss as well, being able to break records like that. You know what I'm saying? And since we're back there, let's go ahead and go back.
All right.
I mean, you've been in the game since the 80s, and I feel like there's certain artists that come in the game early like that. I say to myself, what are they going to do when their so-called career is over? But you, to me, have always been ahead of the game. First of all, you're going to college. While you're there, you're already writing for Tone Loc Funky Comedina, right?
Wild Thing, yeah.
Wild Thing. So you already got writing and publishing stuff on that nature, and then you put your song out. Now, while you were in college, did you already know that, look, I want to do both, or was college a backup plan for you?
No, college was the plan, especially
Okay.
me and if I wanted to stay in my parents' house, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh,
college
yeah.
was the plan. Music was the backup.
Gotcha.
And the funny thing was, I would write songs after homework. So I would literally get back from classes and I'd have an hour to write or whatever. So when I was approached about Wild Thing, I literally had an hour to write, and I think it was 35 minutes that I came up with the 4 verses that I made, and then they ended up keeping the 3 verses from that. But since I'm reading so many books that I don't really want to read, but I have to read for school, doing something, writing that was just for me, it just flowed out of me. And I hadn't made a dime at it yet, so there was no pressure on it. So, you know, once Wild Thing came out and that had hit, and then K-Day had already played Let 'Em Know remix, My Name Is Young, Fastest Rhyme. Those had already played on K-Day, and Loc was coming out with Wild Thing, and I was coming out with Know How.
Yeah.
So he was able to really cross over. And I don't know how cool it is to talk about other stations, but the ironic
Oh,
thing,
we definitely can.
KROQ, the alternative station, that's the station that broke Wild Thing. So that was a curveball for all of us, because you usually say, okay, the rap station's going to break you, or the dance station's going to break you, or the funk station, or the R&B station. No, they played The Cure, and then they played Wild Thing. You see what I'm saying?
So you think some of that may have came from because what Run DMC did with some of the rock boxes and things of that nature may have gave those formats?
Maybe, but I don't remember KROQ playing Rockbox.
Okay.
You feel me? Like, it was a flag that they waved that we're gonna break this rap record with the guy with the deep gravelly voice rhyming over rock riffs. Like, they thought it was cool, and they championed that record. And then that record went pop. If it came back to the urban side, you know, it was after all of that. And the rap record just sold, and that was an introduction to rap for a lot of people. So I was just so happy to be part of it. And Tone, to this day, is one of my closest friends. I got married a few months ago, and he literally came up to me in my wedding like 5 different times, thanking me and gratitude and just showing love. And it really is amazing to be in a business where you can have a friend that close for that long.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
And to make something so special, even in those times where rap music may have still been kind of hard to break through. But
Look,
you guys' records did just that.
When we finished the record, he wanted to buy a car. I wanted to pay off my student loans.
Yeah.
And the record sold 4 million copies. The only thing that was even competing with it was We Are the World as a single in terms of sales.
Crazy.
To the point where the label's like, we should probably sell some albums. We should probably stop making singles. Because they're like, we don't need to press up that many. And they kept pressing, kept selling them. I mean, big records. So what that did for me as an artist is not only being part of it as a writer, but I could see somebody I was close to that I had a similar business experience to, music business experience, coming from the West Coast, being on Delicious Vinyl. I could see him succeed with it, that I had somewhat of a blueprint, like, okay, I can make this happen. But I had such nervousness when Bust a Move was made. There's a woman singing in it, R&B track, it's slower, I don't have Tone's voice. The rap, the rhymes are a bit more staccato. I'm hoping that people understand it. So all that nervousness going through my head when Bust a Move was released. And by that time he had sold at least probably 2.5, 3 million by the time Bust a Move would come out.
So let me ask you this, Young MC. So what was more important to you at that time? Did you care to really be on the mic on the stage, or were you okay being behind the scenes writing? Because you were already being successful at both.
I came into it to be an artist.
Okay.
I was asked to be a writer because they saw that I wrote accessible, crossover potential type stuff. So they said, here's a song called Wild Thing. This is the subject matter. Here's the track. Go do something. And literally, Wild Thing was 35 minutes. The couple of verses I did for Funky Comedina, that was an hour. Bust a Move was an hour and a half. And the only difference was I had called it Make That Move. And then they said, no, why don't we change it to Bust a Move? That's it. I think I have the pencil writing somewhere in the crib on like college paper.
And I don't know if I could hear it as, what was the first title was going to be?
Make That Move.
I don't know if that would have stuck with me the way Bust a Move did.
That's a Shalimar title, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it just kind of was what it was. I'm trying to think back. They had an idea of what they kind of wanted the song to be about, and then I came up with the title as I made the stuff, as I made the verses, and they said, "Oh, call it Bust a Move." I'm like, okay. And if you listen to my first album, everything's 16 bar. Like I'm total like that full on like boastful like almost battle rapper. Everything's 16 bar, talk about how great I am. So a bunch of my records, a bunch of my songs on my first album is 16 bars of saying how great I am, and then the hook. I let them know. My name is Young. I got more rhyme. Like nothing in the verse has anything to do with the hook title.
Yeah.
Except maybe some later verses. Like I'll take one or two 16s that I have laying around, and then I'll make the third verse specifically for that song.
Yeah.
But a lot of that stuff just came out of the book. You know what I mean? Of stuff that I had. And since we're here to talk about how I got my deal.
Yeah.
I grew up in New York. Was going to a record store called Rock and Soul on 36th and 7th. There was a guy that worked at that store named Eric, and he had a record company that he wanted to send some demos to. So I tried to cut some demos with him, but the tracks weren't good and it didn't work out. But he knew the guys at Delicious. So it's probably August of 87. I get to my dorm room and I call up, I get on a phone call with Mike Ross and Matt Dyke, and I say about 3 or 4 verses over the phone, and a week later, they sent me the contract in the mail.
Wow. Contract in the mail.
Contract in the mail. Not even FedEx.
Yeah.
I don't think. Contract in the mail. I don't have a lawyer, but I'm a student senator at USC. Mm-hmm. So I'm representing the student apartments. So I go to the student senate representative from the law school.
And that's how you
and I said, can you look this over for me? He don't know how to do contracts at that point, but it's the closest thing to a lawyer I had.
Yeah.
So,
you can't make this up.
No.
This is crazy. I've never heard that story. That's why I'm sitting here and Young. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's how it came about. So let's talk about a couple of things. One, your storyline, because I knew you were going to school at the same time, and I wanted to ask you what was more important, because as an artist out right now, this is how life goes full circle. 310, baby. Just graduated from high school, right? Am I saying his name right? We right? Right? Okay, got to give him props. He plays a lot of celebrity games. Just graduated from high school, but his mom didn't allow him to go play a couple of celebrity games because he was falling short on his homework.
That's right.
So that's why it was so important. And you kind of like solidified the same situation, saying your parents said college first, music second. Even though music made so much success for you, though.
They gave me the summer. I graduated in I graduated in May of 89. Bust a Move came out finals week. They gave me the summer, and they basically said, okay, get this out of your system. Mm-hmm. And within a year of that, I had a Grammy, American Music Award, Billboard Award, and bought in my house. Boom. So it's still in my system. and even with the economics degree,
yeah,
I knew that economically it was the best thing for me to do. There was nothing that I could do with my degree that was going to make me the money or give me the personal satisfaction that I had as an artist. And you're shrewd enough to see, as a writer, publisher, like my career has gone through different iterations where I'm focused on royalties from record companies. That dries up. Okay, I'm focused on publishing. Now it's more focused on live performance, trying to bring that back around and capitalize on other opportunities that are available to artists now that weren't even thoughts in people's minds when I was out.
Yeah, that's true. That's
true. You could, as if you're a corporate entity, there's people running around with 7 figures in corporations just coming out of the woodwork.
Trying to hand them off like a football, like real quick.
Where you can, you know what I mean? And you see some of the deals that cats are making, I'm like, wait, I could capitalize on some of this. Plus, I really feel I still have good music in me. If I was in any other business, if I sat behind a desk, I know guys who are CMOs, CTOs, CEOs, and they're around my age, have a similar education. If I was behind a desk, I would be considered at my peak or going close to my peak. Yeah. But in the entertainment business, I'm considered somewhat of a dinosaur.
Right. They try to say you aged out. Yeah. But
from the stage. But in terms of what I can plan to do and what I can use my experience to do and the friendships that I have, and I'm calling guys that I haven't spoke to in 20 plus years, and they're still working in the business in a position to help. It's like it's a good thing, man. It just feels like sometimes in this business, you don't really see the time that's put in and the relationships that are made, and being trying your best to be a good guy and always being straight up with people. If I say I'm gonna pay you, I'm gonna pay you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That kind of thing. You can't do business with people as if you're not gonna see them again.
No, and you are a stand-up guy. I mean, that's obvious. It shows that. And you look like someone that's never really like burn some bridges. That's why I feel like when you make that phone call, people are going to pick up for you. Let me ask you this. All the success, everything going on, then all of a sudden you fall in this title of this one-hit wonder. How did you even embrace that? How did you feel about even hearing that? And then when they have these tours that's called that, how do you feel about doing that? Because obviously you're bigger than that. We know that people make records sometimes that it's hard to go past at some point, but still, how did you feel about that?
Okay. I bring back, the Young MC, the artist, and Marvin Young, the writer. Yeah, they're two different entities, but they're basically the same person.
Right.
So I look at it in the grand scheme that I've written multi-platinum records in 3 different decades.
Boom.
So you could call one hit wonder. Okay, is Tone's one hit?
Yeah.
Mine too. Is my one hit 1, 2? People don't even know I wrote this record for an artist named Anastasia, the record called Not That Kind. She sold almost 10 million records around the world. I have a bigger part of that. I actually did the track on that one. I have a bigger part of that than I have of anything else I wrote. And she does that much. It's like, is that a one hit for some, so I look at it like I've had my hands in a lot of hits, and I would have had my hands in more hits if I was saying, yeah, take my publishing, yeah, take my rights.
Yeah.
I'll get on. I hear these horror stories. I'm not gonna name artists, but I hear these horror stories about artist walks in and there's a team of writers, or even one person that walks up and they have a song, and you got to give up a percentage to get it to the artist. And the artist is going to take over 50% so that they can not only control it, like, look, if I sing on it, it's going to be big.
Right.
They already know it's a hit, but they want to take the publishing and they want to take the writer share for that.
Yeah.
I'm hearing these horror stories. It's like, that's not going to be me.
There you
go. I'll never get to that point. Another thing, too, I'm just giving you all the information now. Yep. People ask me about Tone's records, like, oh, would you ever perform Tone Loc's records? The day that I have to perform Tone Loc's records is the day that I stop doing this.
There you go.
I literally made it for him. That's my man. Like, one of my closest friends in the world. I will never be that desperate. Like, yeah, I can make a couple extra grand if I did Wild Thing and Funky Comedina. Stop it. Stop it. Yeah. Let me go out and make something new. Let me go out and make something new and go on tour with him. You know what I'm saying? That's how we'll make money.
There you go. Not mad at that. Which brings us back to going out on tour, because you got to be doing this new single just going to drop. Matter of fact, we're going to play it on KD. I know we play the classics. We play your Bust a Move, but we got to run this one back on the radio. Once again, it's called Loose. And again, the title, or is it the lyrics or the melody? What comes first to you when you're creating?
You know what? It's different stuff. Funny thing is, the lyrics usually come last.
Okay. Because
I've been doing it so long, but it's like pulling teeth with the lyrics. Like, I have to have the whole mosaic, the whole thing has to be set up for me to write the lyrics the way I want. It took me 20 years before I had the nerve to open up a rhyming dictionary and say to myself, yeah, because I want to be a purist and this and that and the third. But I'm like, all these words are in my vocabulary, but they're not in my head at the moment that I'm writing this song. Okay, then I look at that and I say, okay, let me use that. If I see a word, I'm like, okay, I can build a line off of that, 10, 20. So I all of a sudden in 2007 or 2008 got into writing 4-line couplets where I don't really do the, AABB thing anymore. I do AAAA. And to see people's reaction when I'm, when I keep the rhyme scheme going, I get a kick out of that. Also, I know how to fashion it where, if you this is a little technical, but there's people that teach songwriting that say that you shouldn't use cliches, you shouldn't use common sayings, and my thing is they're okay to use if you don't use them right away. So if I use some really intricate like four syllable rhyme couplets and that kind of thing, and then I end it with like a cliche that's very familiar, but I've already hit you with like 6, 7 of creative different ways of the same rhyme scheme, and it ends with a cliche. I think that's so powerful because you wouldn't see that coming. So like I've worked at this long enough where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna drag them in. I literally use my lyrics as almost like drama, like 3-act structure, like pull them in and grab them with it and get something out of it. And I've been complimented not only the clarity of my diction and being clean and all that. My thing was, I came up at a time, Rapper's Delight came out. I've been rapping 3 years before Rapper's Delight had come out. Okay. So I heard Rapper's Delight on the radio, and I'm like, oh, that's what the hi-hats sound like. That's what this sounds like on FM. So our whole goal was to get our records on the radio. So why give someone an excuse not to play the record by cursing in it? So
Interesting.
so I've just kept that now. So now when the business has changed and everybody's cursing and everything and clean versions and this, that, and the other, I'm like, I'm still gonna stay doing what I'm doing. If I change my name from Young MC, anybody would see me and say, "Oh, Young MC changed his name." So I do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just like, I'm proud of what I've done. I'm proud of who I am, and I wanna be somewhat of a champion for the more mature artist that's been doing this a long time, and not run away from the success you had in the past or the the fan base you've had. I'm on this 90s tour.
Yeah.
I've done probably 500-600 shows on this 90s tour since 2016.
Yeah, and the lineup is a dope. People want to go all over the country, all over the world.
Right. So
Yeah.
I literally did 3 of them this past weekend. We were in Canada and then Reno, Nevada, and then like outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Stay working.
And I mean, I saw Mix-a-Lot with me and Tretch and Color Me Bad and Tone, obviously, Rob Bass.
That whole era.
I mean, CNC Music Factory, me and Freedom are cool. So to see that and to be able to build on that, because those people that go to those shows, those aren't necessarily the people that are online trying to get music streaming and that, all that. They like, the music from from back in the day.
Absolutely.
So I'll give that to them, but then I'll do loose and some other new material to show what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And then try and encapsulate all that together.
Love it.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, look, we're going to get into this loose, but before we do that, one real question. Look, you've been in the rap game for a long time. You saw what happened with the Pac and Biggie beef. Now you saw what happened with the Drake and Kendrick Lamar. When you see how rap has evolved and when you see things like that, do you think it's good for hip-hop, or do you think hip-hop would be just fine without it?
No. And man, well, I'm coming from a skewed perspective because when I won my Grammy, I come downstairs the next morning. They're doing interviews, and I will never forget this this British reporter, and she was a minority, but she was British, and she looked at me and she said, "I'm surprised you don't have your Grammy around your neck on a chain."
Wow.
Mine was the first televised Grammy, the first Grammy from a West Coast hip hop artist. You know what I mean? So I was proud of what I was doing, but I still got that response when I literally just won the award the night before, and they're there to cover me. So, so to see it go from that to see like the deals that 50 and all these other people are making, and to see what happened during the battle, that they literally took over the charts. And they took over the charts from like record labels that are working for months and months and months on records. We got this plan and we got this department and this, that, and then Kendrick's like, I don't like him. And Drake is like, I don't like him. And they're literally going to put records out in a matter of days and take all that other stuff off the charts.
Yeah.
To me, that is such a statement for the power of hip hop.
Talk about it.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
At that point, you'd rather not see people be in beef, but to know that somebody could put a record together, have it go viral, and literally wipe the biggest artist in the world off the charts for whatever amount of time, that's huge.